In this video, we will compare Naruto with each member of the Akatsuki to see how many of them he can defeat while in Sage Mode. If we take Naruto as he was when he first appeared in the story and pit him against the Akatsuki, it would be nothing more than an egg striking a rock. Remember during the Chunin exams, if Sasuke and Jiraiya had not arrived in time, Kisame would likely have cut off Naruto's legs and taken him back to the organization. On the other hand, if we consider Naruto at the stage where he obtained 6 paths power, then even the entire Akatsuki together would not be enough for him to warm up. Therefore, the fairest and most interesting choice will be Sage Mode Naruto, the moment when he had just mastered the power of the Sage, possessing superior speed, reflexes, and destructive force, enough to face the most dangerous members of the Akatsuki. We begin with the first opponent, Nagato. The battle with him was the greatest turning point in Naruto's life, the moment when he was first acknowledged by the entire village of Konoha. After defeating the 6 paths of pain, Naruto confronted the real Nagato and used his own words to move him, leading Nagato to sacrifice his life and use the Rinne Tensei no Jutsu to revive all the people of Konoha. But if that battle were to happen once again, in another place, without advantages or intelligence, could Naruto truly defeat Nagato? Unfortunately, the answer is no. Because in the battle with the 6 paths of pain, Naruto had too many advantages that were not created by his own power. Beforehand, Jiraiya, Kakashi, and many other shinobi had sacrificed their lives to gather crucial intelligence on pain. That the 6 bodies shared their vision, that all of them were corpses remotely controlled by Nagato, that the Deva path required 5 seconds of cooldown after using Shinra Tensei. Most importantly, that the Naraka path was the key link in pain's formation, the one capable of reviving all the other paths. In the shinobi world, intelligence is power. Just by looking at the battle between Asuma's team and Hidan and Kakuzu, we understand that if they had known about Hidan's immortality ability from the start, Asuma would not have had to die. Thanks to knowing this information, Naruto was able to gradually analyze, separate the enemy formation, and deal with each path one by one. He deliberately lured them apart, used Sage Chakra sensing to evade attacks, and then eliminated each body step by step. This very strategy allowed Naruto to turn a seemingly hopeless battle into a victory. However, we must also remember that by the time Naruto arrived, Nagato had already consumed most of his chakra after using Shinra Tensei to destroy the entire village of Konoha. The Deva path was in its recovery period, waiting to regain the ability to use Shinra Tensei, not completely exhausted. If Pain at that time had been able to use his full power, or if all 6 bodies had fought together from the start, then Naruto would have had almost no chance to overturn the situation. Objectively speaking, that victory was not entirely due to Naruto's personal strength, but the result of sacrifice, intelligence, and also luck. If Hinata had not been gravely injured, causing Naruto to lose control and release the Nine Tails, then after being impaled by the black chakra rods, he might have been captured by Nagato. In a fair one-on-one battle, the winner would definitely be Nagato. This became even clearer in the 4th Great Ninja War, when Nagato alone, under Edo Tensei, nearly captured both Naruto and Killer Bee. In just a few moves, he left the 2 Jinchuriki nearly helpless and unable to resist. If Itachi had not appeared in time to intervene, both would have long since been captured by Nagato and handed over to Kabuto. Next, the second opponent is Obito Uchiha in his Orange Mask version. This is an extremely difficult battle, not only for Naruto but for almost every shinobi of that era. Remember that at just 14 years old, Obito was already fast enough to react to Minato. In this adult version, he was far stronger, more seasoned, and far more experienced. Even though Naruto in Sage Mode possessed tremendous physical power, impressive speed, and long-range techniques like the Rasen Shuriken, all of them were useless against Kamui. Obito's space-time ability allowed him to phase through every attack, nullify all damage, and even absorb opponents into his personal dimension. Naruto had absolutely no way to counter Kamui, nor did he have any technique capable of dealing with such a power. The theory often mentioned is that Naruto could use the frog song, the auditory genjutsu of the 2 Toad Sages, Fukasaku and Shima. Since this genjutsu relies on sound instead of sight, the Sharingan cannot nullify it. But in reality, performing the technique requires time for the duet to harmonize, and Obito was far too intelligent to ever allow them such an opportunity. Naruto's only chance would be to rely on Frog Kumite, the Sage Taijutsu style that strikes an opponent with invisible natural energy. Naruto could pretend to miss an attack to bait Obito into activating Kamui, then land a blow with the aura of natural energy surrounding him at the very moment Obito rematerialized. Such a strategy might surprise Obito for a few seconds, but it would hardly be enough to end the fight. The reason is that Obito's stamina and durability far exceeded expectations. As a child, he survived even after half his body was crushed by rocks. At the age of 14, he took a direct Rasengan from Minato and still got back up. As an adult, he was strong enough to block Suigetsu's executioner's blade with his bare hand without injury. No matter how powerful Sage Mode Naruto was, he could not generate a single strike with enough force to finish Obito. After that first attempt, Obito would quickly understand the mechanics of Frog Kumide and immediately change the flow of the battle. Once he activated Kamui and dragged Naruto into his personal dimension, the fight would be over. Therefore, it can be affirmed that Naruto in Sage Mode had absolutely no chance of defeating Obito Uchiha. The gap in ability was far too great, and Kamui remained one of the near-invincible techniques in the entire shinobi world. The third opponent is Kakuzu, who is infamous for his ability to master all 5 chakra natures and for possessing 5 hearts, which essentially gave him 5 lives. This made him one of the most dangerous and persistent members of the Akatsuki. Everyone knows how Kakuzu was defeated at that time. Naruto had just perfected the Rasen Shuriken, and even when he was only able to use half of its full power, Kakuzu became the very first victim of this technique. Although he still had 2 hearts remaining, just 1 Rasen Shuriken was enough to render him completely incapable of fighting. If the two were to face each other again, with Naruto having already mastered Sage Mode, the result would be even more one-sided. At this point, the Rasen Shuriken was amplified by natural energy, multiplying its destructive power many times over. A single strike would be enough to obliterate all 5 of Kakuzu's hearts in an instant. With the superior reflexes and physical strength of Sage Mode, Naruto would not even need to rely on shadow clones as before. He could simply close the distance, unleash a Rasen Shuriken at point-blank range, and end the fight immediately. In this matchup, Sage Mode Naruto achieves a decisive and absolute victory, swift, clean, and leaving Kakuzu virtually no chance to resist. The fourth opponent is Hidan. His greatest weakness is that in order to activate the Jushin ritual and inflict damage on his opponent, Hidan must obtain their real blood. However, this is nearly impossible when facing Naruto, since he always begins the fight with shadow clones, making it extremely difficult for the enemy to distinguish which one is the real body. Even shinobi with refined chakra sensing like Neji were once deceived by Naruto. So for Hidan, whose reaction speed is far slower, landing a hit on Naruto is almost impossible. Furthermore, Naruto in Sage Mode once endured direct strikes from the black chakra rods of the Rinnegan piercing through his body and was still able to break them with his bare hands, suffering virtually no injury. With that level of durability and defense, even if Hidan managed to land a blow with his scythe, he would not be able to extract a single drop of blood. This means that Hidan's Jushin ritual would be completely useless against Naruto. Suppose in the rare case that Hidan was lucky enough to obtain Naruto's real blood, would he even have enough time to activate the ritual? The answer is no. In Sage Mode, Naruto's speed had already reached near-instant levels. A clear example being when he defeated the Asura Path of Pain. He moved from the top of Gamabunta's head to Tsunade's location in a single instant. With that speed, Hidan, already considered the slowest member of the Akatsuki, would have no chance of completing the Jushin ritual. Even if he managed to draw the circle and begin the ritual, Naruto could easily destroy the formation in an instant, or unleash a Rasen Shuriken to end the fight before Hidan could react. The result is undeniable. Sage Mode Naruto claims an absolute victory. The fifth opponent is Uchiha Itachi. In fact, Naruto had encountered Itachi many times, and after each meeting he showed clear progress, but the gap between them was still too great. During the mission to rescue Kazekage Gaara, even after Kakashi warned him, Naruto was still caught by Itachi's finger genjutsu due to just a brief moment of carelessness. Not long after, during the mission to search for Itachi and Sasuke with the entire Konoha team, Naruto once again encountered him, or more accurately, Itachi himself intentionally sought him out while he was alone. Even though Naruto was extremely cautious at that time and constantly on guard against genjutsu, the result did not change. He once again fell into Itachi's illusion, and this time Kotoama Tsukami was implanted inside him. By the Fourth Great Ninja War, Naruto and Killer Bee faced Itachi and Nagato in their Edo Tensei forms. Naruto even reminded Bee to be careful of Itachi's genjutsu, yet with just a single glance, Bee was still caught. Fortunately, thanks to the 8 tails inside him, Bee managed to break free. Even Naruto, despite focusing with all his strength and being in 9 tails chakra mode, still could not avoid Itachi's genjutsu. This caused the Kotoama Tsukami within him to be accidentally triggered in reverse, allowing Itachi to break free from Edo Tensei control and regain his free will. In other words, even when Naruto was at his strongest at that time, he was still unable to escape from Itachi's genjutsu. If we consider Sage Mode, the situation becomes even more difficult. At this stage, Naruto did not yet have Kurama's support, so he could not instantly break Genjutsu as he could later on. Meanwhile, Itachi was superior in taijutsu, speed, and strategy. He could completely evade the Rasen Shuriken and counterattack with another illusion mid-battle. Although the Rasen Shuriken had devastating power, it had the weakness of being predictable. The sound it produced was too loud and its charging time too long. Itachi could easily summon Susanoo to block it, just as he once defended against Sasuke's Kirin, a technique that was faster and more destructive than the Rasen Shuriken. And once Susanoo appeared, with the Yata Mirror as a shield capable of nullifying any form of physical or chakra-based attack, Naruto would have virtually no way of inflicting damage. If Naruto accidentally made direct eye contact, Itachi could instantly cast Tsukuyomi. In that illusionary space, time is distorted and the will is crushed, making it extremely difficult for even Naruto's steel-like spirit to maintain focus. Just one such moment would be enough for Itachi to land a finishing blow, not to mention Amaterasu, the black flames that burn everything Itachi looks at. Even though Sage Mode Naruto had extremely fast reflexes, he still could not match the speed of the Raikage. And even if Naruto managed to avoid the first strike, the flames could still change direction and pursue him, just as Itachi once did against Sasuke. Naruto's summoned toads would fare no better. Amaterasu was powerful enough to incinerate Nagato's summoned dogs instantly, so giant creatures like Gamabunta or Gamahiro would meet the same fate. Furthermore, with the Sharingan, Itachi could completely control these summons, just like Sasuke once controlled Manda, a creature stronger than Gamabunta, even though Sasuke's chakra was nearly depleted at that time. With all these advantages, Naruto in Sage Mode would have virtually no way to overcome Itachi. Next, the sixth opponent is Deidara. His greatest advantage is the ability to fly, something possessed by only a very few shinobi in the entire world. The usefulness of this ability was evident from the very first encounter, when Naruto was almost unable to counterattack effectively. At that time, he had no long-range technique powerful enough to reach his opponent, while Deidara could freely fly and launch continuous attacks from above. Only when Kakashi inflicted a serious injury on Deidara did Naruto have the chance to land the finishing blow, and the battle ended with him completely on the passive side. Many people tend to underestimate Deidara's speed, but in reality he once kept up with Hebi Sasuke, the version that had absorbed Orochimaru's chakra. Hebi Sasuke was fast enough to fight against Itachi. And Itachi, in his Edo Tensei form later on, could even fight evenly with Naruto in Nine-Tails Chakra mode, which shows that Deidara's speed cannot be taken lightly. He even managed to dodge an explosion of his own making when Sasuke suddenly attacked from behind, to the point that even Tobi believed he had died. Of course, Naruto in Sage Mode was not slow, but Sage techniques mainly enhanced his physical strength and durability rather than pure speed. Even with chakra sensing, his reflexes were not overwhelmingly superior to Deidara's. In fact, compared to Sasuke in his battle against Deidara, Sage Mode Naruto could be considered equivalent in speed and reaction. Deidara was a long-range fighter who relied on guerrilla tactics. He would certainly take to the skies on his clay dragon, just like he did against Gaara and Sasuke. His dragons were extremely agile, capable of dodging attacks with ease, even evading all of Gaara's assaults in the middle of the desert. Therefore, landing a Rasen Shuriken on Deidara would be extremely difficult, even for Sage Mode Naruto. Even during the battle against Pain, Naruto was not able to hit with the Rasen Shuriken easily. Aside from the animal path, almost every other path dodged it. If Deidara flew high, he could easily evade the Rasen Shuriken without taking much risk. To actually pose a real threat, Deidara would have to use destructive techniques like C2 Dragon, C3, or C4 Karura. The C2 Dragon once created explosions so large that Sasuke had to use his full power to defend against them. Even without Tobi's help in placing mines, Deidara dropping bombs from above alone would make it nearly impossible for Naruto to get close. Naruto could summon Gamabunta, Gamahiro, or Gamaken to jump up and counterattack, but that would only make him an easier target. Deidara could attack from multiple angles with his homing clay missiles, and the giant toads could not dodge forever. In Part 1, Gamabunta once withstood the winds of Shukaku, but Deidara's bombs were many times stronger. Even in his Edo Tensei state, Deidara created an explosion strong enough to tilt the entire Turtle Island, which was larger than the Hidden Leaf Village. This shows that the destructive force of his bombs was on par with a Bijudama. A single blast of that level could completely obliterate Gamabunta in an instant. Do not forget that Deidara once used C3 to attack the Hidden Sand Village, and Gaara had to lift the entire desert to prevent the explosion. Naruto did not possess such large-scale defensive abilities. Even if he used the Rasen Shuriken to intercept the bombs mid-air, Sage Mode chakra was limited, and every time it ran out, Naruto needed to pause and gather natural energy again. Deidara would certainly not allow him that time. Worse still, if Deidara used C4 Karura, the battle would almost immediately end. The nano-clay bombs exploded at the cellular level. Sasuke only survived because he had lightning release to neutralize them and the Sharingan to see the microscopic explosives. Naruto had neither. Even though Sage Mode's sensory perception allowed him to sense chakra, there was no way to neutralize this type of bomb. Once hit, the body would be destroyed from within, and even Sage Mode durability would not be enough to survive. Naruto's only chance would be to attack before Deidara activated C4, or to destroy the massive clay clone before it exploded. But this was extremely unlikely, since Deidara usually only used C4 when his opponent was already exhausted or when Sage Mode time was running out. And if he resorted to C0, the self-destruction bomb, then the result would only be both dying together. Many might think that Naruto could escape using a summoning technique like Sasuke once did, but Sasuke had the Sharingan to control Manda, Naruto didn't. Summoning in the instant of a C0 explosion was practically impossible. In conclusion, even though Naruto had multiple counter options, this was still an extremely unfavorable matchup. Sasuke had the specific skills to counter Deidara, but Naruto did not. Without lightning release to neutralize the bombs, and with the limited time of Sage Mode, Deidara would take the victory in this battle. We now come to the seventh opponent, Kisame Hoshigaki, the monster of the hidden mist. On land, Kisame's power was only at the level of an elite jonin, but once he stepped into a water environment, he practically transformed into a true monster, with strength approaching Kage level. Not only did he have the natural advantage, but Kisame could also create a massive water dome surrounding the battlefield, forcing his opponent to fight in an environment completely under his control. Meanwhile, Naruto did not possess earth-release techniques like the third Hokage to escape from such an environment. If the battle took place underwater, he would be forced into a passive position against an enemy with absolute advantage. Kisame's water-release Great Shark Bullet technique could absorb all the chakra from an opponent's ninjutsu and convert it into power for his own attack. Guy was able to win because Hirodora contained no chakra, which made Kisame's technique unable to absorb it. But with Naruto, the situation would be completely different. Rasen Shuriken, even when amplified by natural energy, was still essentially a chakra-based ninjutsu, which made it the perfect prey for Daikodan. In such a case, the Rasen Shuriken would not only fail to deal damage but could even end up unintentionally strengthening Kisame further. Many people think that if Kisame absorbed Sage Chakra, he would immediately turn to stone, but in reality, this is not the case. Daikodan functions as an energy absorption mechanism, not as Kisame directly drawing chakra into his own body, so the petrification effect would not occur. We saw Pain's Pretapath absorb Naruto's Sage Chakra, and only when it absorbed too much did it turn completely to stone. This shows there is a certain limit to how much Sage energy a body can handle. And with Kisame, who had an enormous chakra reserve even said to be greater than Nagato's, he could certainly withstand a portion of Sage energy without danger. Moreover, Kisame was intelligent enough to stop absorbing the moment he sensed risk, and his sword Samehada, which had once absorbed Tailed Beast Chakra, could easily withstand a certain level of Sage energy. In the worst-case scenario, if Samehada turned to stone from absorbing too much, Kisame could sever the connection in time to avoid being affected himself. In conclusion, Naruto had almost no way to escape from the aquatic battlefield where Kisame fully controlled the terrain and the pace of combat. In this matchup, the one holding the greater chance of victory would undoubtedly be Kisame. The eighth opponent is Konan, the paper-manipulating genius of the Hidden Rain Village. If the battle were to take place in the Hidden Leaf, in normal conditions where Konan had no time to prepare beforehand, the advantage would clearly lean toward Naruto. Although the Paper Angel technique allowed Konan to be nearly immune to physical slashes and to split her body into thousands of paper pieces to evade attacks, this ability was ineffective against shinobi possessing high-level energy powers such as Sage Mode Naruto. He could summon Gamabunta and use toad oil just as Jiraiya once did, soaking the paper pieces and disabling Konan's mobility. Even without employing that strategy, Rasen Shuriken would still be an attack powerful enough to end the fight. Unlike ordinary cutting techniques, the Rasen Shuriken not only inflicted physical damage but also destroyed chakra structures at the cellular level. Once that energy spread, the chakra links binding the paper pieces would be severed, preventing Konan from maintaining her split form, and the entire paper technique would collapse instantly. In this case, Sage Mode Naruto would achieve an overwhelming victory. However, if Konan had time to prepare in advance, as she did when fighting Obito in the Hidden Rain, the situation would be entirely different. At that time, the entire sea was transformed into a massive ocean of explosive tags, containing hundreds of millions of tags, detonating continuously for 10 minutes, enough to nearly kill Obito even though he possessed Kamui. In such a scenario, Sage Mode Naruto would have virtually no direct way to counter. He could not fly, and even if he summoned Gamabunta or Gamahiro to leap into the air, they would eventually fall back down into the raging sea of explosions. Even if Naruto could withstand the initial blast, the consecutive detonations over 10 minutes would drain his Sage Chakra before the battle ended, and once he lost that state, he would be completely consumed by the sea of paper. The only way for Naruto to survive would be to use reverse summoning to retreat to Mount Myoboku, but if he were forced to withdraw in such a way, that would mean victory for Konan. In conclusion, under normal conditions without the Paper Ocean, Sage Mode Naruto would undoubtedly win. But if Konan had prior preparation and deployed the Paper Ocean explosion as in her battle against Obito, Naruto would have almost no means of counterattack, and the final result could be considered a stalemate, where neither side could completely overwhelm the other. The ninth opponent is Sasori, one of the most fascinating members of the Akatsuki, as he could alter his form and fight in multiple modes. In the early stage, when he was still hidden inside the puppet Hiruko as in the battle against Chiyo and Sakura, Naruto would face no difficulty at all. The poison needle attacks or the mechanical tail of Hiruko could never pierce the defense of Sage Mode, and with Naruto's overwhelming physical strength, a single punch would be enough to shatter that armor. Sasori's greatest strength always lay in his poison, but this too became meaningless when his opponent was Sage Mode Naruto. Even the black chakra rods of the Rinnegan could not penetrate Naruto's body, so Sasori's poison-coated blades stood no chance of causing injury. Even if he released poison gas into the air, Naruto, with the ultra-sensitive chakra sensing of Sage Mode, would easily evade it. Though Naruto sometimes acted impulsively, in battle he was sharp and analytical, as he demonstrated in his fight against Pain. If early Shippuden Sakura, with nothing but enhanced taijutsu, could destroy the puppet of the third Kazekage and defeat Sasori, then Sage Mode Naruto, who once landed a punch strong enough to defeat one of Pain's paths, or hurled a massive summoned rhino into the sky, could certainly do it far more easily. Sasori's puppets of wood, iron, or even iron sand would never withstand a single precise Sage strike. With his physical power, sharp reflexes, and environmental awareness, Naruto could simultaneously attack, dodge, and identify his opponent's weak points. Even if he did not immediately detect Sasori's true core, the two-toed sages, Fukasaku and Shima, would surely identify its location and guide him to land the finishing blow. Even if Sasori unleashed his full army of 100 puppets, Naruto could still handle them with ease, thanks to Sage power and the ability to summon Gamabunta or Gamahiro for support, or simply by using multi-shadow clone jutsu, at which point the number of Naruto's clones might even outnumber Sasori's puppets. The battle might last longer due to the scale, but the outcome would not change. Sage Mode Naruto would still be the victor, and the final opponent is Zetsu, the most mysterious being in the entire Akatsuki organization. Black Zetsu possessed high-level wood release abilities, while White Zetsu had the Spore Jutsu, a technique that even the 5 Kage had to be wary of during the Fourth Great Ninja War. When combined, the two formed a creature with regenerative abilities, stealth, and ambush tactics that were extremely troublesome. However, even with those advantages, they still stood no chance against Sage Mode Naruto. Black Zetsu once managed to react to Naruto in Nine-Tails Chakra mode, even causing him to miss with a Rasen Shuriken for a brief moment, but that was only a fleeting instant because the power gap between them was simply too great. With his physical strength, Sage reflexes, Rasen Shuriken, chakra sensing, and the ability to summon giant toads, Naruto would still be able to defeat Zetsu. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos.